You know, I was thinking, are we going to do this or how in the earth we're gonna have a talk. We're gonna discuss the lockdown, the great lockdown. I watch the news. I watch the 8 o'clock news, the mainstream news, daily. Since November I'm residing in Portugal. But, you know, the news is quite similar over here. Well, due to the government countermeasures, I missed a car boot sale here, a local car boot sale, and I was prepping a lot of my stuff to sell. So that was the first thing, actually, what has hit me personal, you know. I don't care much about quarantine. Going in quarantine is good. Like I discussed earlier in previous videos, sometimes you have to live like a hermit, like a urban hermit. So you know, a lockdown, a mental lockdown, or how do you say this? A spiritual lockdown can be good, can be quite beneficial. The majority is going to a severe lockdown, like a social lockdown. And this evening I heard at the 8 o'clock news the Prime Minister of the Netherlands is announcing some new severe countermeasures to control the situation, you know. He said, according to experts or according to specialists,
Right.
who advised or recommended closing schools and businesses and companies, and also like freelancers. If you work for yourself, like I did in the last year or two, all those people are now confronted with these countermeasures. And what I truly do not understand is that nobody asks questions anymore, according to specialists and experts. And we're talking about, I assume, doctors and scientists and medical advisors, health advisors, the WHO, you know, the WHO, flat earthers. The WHO and the UN are supporters of flat earth. But that aside, on what ground, on what basis are these countermeasures needed? I wonder if this was in the 60s or 70s or even the 80s. There should be a kind of anarchism protesting against these corrupt countermeasures, engaged on false information. It is population control. You have a major lockdown. Every time I hear or say the word lockdown, the voice of Aiken, you know, he has this high-pitched voice. I'm not gonna say this. But okay, I'm standing above this ignorant governmental management. Regain control over population or over Western society. Programming at full steam. and it starts with all kind of snippets in media. You can clearly see the structure of building towards an how do you say this, an axiom. Let's say I'm not surprised for what's coming. I mean, there are a minor group of people, a minor group of entities who shall benefit, and who has great interest to to roll out this pandemic, this fear mongering, and maybe a good moment to change some laws. You know what I mean? And every country has um, his Bill of Rights. But what surprises me is no company or no lawyer or legal person or individual who asks questions about this, like is this all legal? Is this all legal, and on what ground are and according to whom are these countermeasures placed? Well, if I was a CEO of a middle-sized to big concern or business or company, I would definitely acquire some legal information, or to check if this is all within parameters. For example, if I lose a lot of business and it will cost a few million on false information, not complete information, according to scientists and experts and specialists who were actually completely wrong, then I would certainly consider a case against the government. What is quite curious is that let's say the last few months, you hear and see in the news, like there are a lot of CEOs of big concerns, big companies, who are all stepping down. There is more going on than just a virus pandemic based on something what doesn't exist. I actually hate the word research, but what is research, and how plausible is the information you find is actual real. But I can assure you, as an observer, I have the ability to distinguish the false narrative, false findings, against what is really actually happening. And that might sound maybe arrogant, or you don't need to be a doctor, you don't need an engineer title or a PhD. It is actually better to have none of that, because you can observe and search with a real open mind, without being biased to your education. in my own experiences with medical doctors, I had two cases where a normal dentist doesn't know natural pain reliefs like just walk in nature or curcumine, you know, that stuff in this this yellow carrot. How do you say this? Curcuma. Natural resources. What can be used as a natural pain relief, and it actually worked. I did not use the medical, or how do you say this, the chemical substances like paracetamol and ibuprofen, all that shit. The other case was where I saw my father, who was how they treat patients from an heart operation, or just you know, your arteries are clogged up with shit, and it has to be cleared out. Well, okay, what patients get as a food, it was really shocking. I already told it in one video. You don't need blood thinners, or you know, that stuff. You just can fix it with fresh beet juice, coconut water. It should be a mandatory slow juice diet, something like that. Not like you're back from the IC and here you get white bread, or you have you get coffee, you get cheese, you get you know, nice piece of pork we have as dinner. You know, what are we talking about? You know, this is not how you heal people. I saw with my own eyes that a trained doctor, a trained specialist, yeah, it's just yeah, you know, I don't want to call out to these people, but they're just operating by the book. They're trained. Okay, they're trained monkeys. There, I said it. Those same kind of trained monkeys are dictating the advice to the governments what to do with this pandemic. If you just Google and you do a real thorough search, you will see we're dealing with the common cold. And the common cold, you cannot, you don't have medicines for it, you don't have a vaccine for it. Your body, your immune system, it can handle all these viruses or bacteria perfectly without any help from external sources. For example, if you have the flu or you have a common cold, what people often do is take those drugs immediately. You know, you go to bed, you take some paracetamols, take some pain reliefs, and you know, that's it. But instead of that, you can also go into nature. You can also go stare in the sun. You can eat normal food, real food, vegan food, plant-based food. And I will assure you, I'm almost 4 years vegan now. I never get sick. You know, still people are drinking alcohol, eating animal products, dairy, of course, eggs, whatnot, using your these kind of things, microwaves. In urban places, you have like 20 Wi-Fi signals penetrating through your walls. it is quite necessary to heal yourself in first place in solitude. So you'll have to live like a hermit. Second is that you have nature nearby, and you have to go, well, at least 2 times a week. Just go for a walk, or take your bike. This is what people are not doing when they're sick, or even when they're not sick. They don't seek nature as a natural healer. And there are far more other things, like music, for example, and not the music blasting out of your radio, but I'm talking about 432 hertz or 528, the solfeggio tune. There are a lot of things what we are not aware of, what can heal you with quite little effort. What I expect to happen is they are going to develop a kind of vaccine. That is a costful process, of course. I mean, if you have Bill Gates, he donated 100 million or something, or whatever. But you need, of course, some good old-fashioned metals, heavy metals, and gather some aborted baby fetuses, and then they will roll out a vaccine, which actually makes you more sick. For your information, if you are a believer of vaccines, then well, in the Netherlands we say you will you will come back from a cold fair. Okay, I don't know if this saying is quite translating, but vaccines are a hoax. If you look into how it's made and how it's invented, this guy Pasteur, or Google who were the founders of these of this vaccine rollout. That same scientist was not standing behind his own findings, and still they pushed it through, like, okay, this is the solution. So we're dealing with a vaccine in the making, and I will assure you it will be lobbied hard especially by Democrats, like Democratic parties, who want to make this vaccine as a mandatory. And well, if that happens, I wouldn't be surprised, and I hope it will never happen, because I'm here making this video to make clear that there are millions of people these days, this era, who are not comply to this bullshit. There's still this like this paradigm of if you have done your research only exclusively on YouTube, then well, that it doesn't count. That is not real. That is not real proper research, and that is completely BS these days. Like I said in the beginning of this video, if you are a true observer, you can effortlessly make a distinguish to what is actual and what is fraud. You do your own research, and you don't have to believe. No, actually, don't believe anything what I say or what I claim to know or whatever. Take time to figure out yourself, and not blindly follow the white coats, the people in the white coats, and the standard mainstream narrative, because they are serving a interest, and the interest is not you. As long you you are not willing to dive into these matters, and you're ignoring, the truth, the mechanism, how this all works, then yeah, you're just a slave to the system. You are you are uh, you are being farmed on a big farm, a big fazenda, a corporate governmental fazenda, and your cattle. And you are doing the work till you're old and vulnerable for those viruses. Yeah. So if you're not willing to open up to this reality, or what's actually controlling this whole society, um, well, then you will be treated as cattle, driven by fear, fear of losing your job, pension, which doesn't exist in 30 years, fear of losing your social status, fear of dying, which every fear is emanating from. If you watch the mainstream news, it's all about fear. They will overload your perception of fear, that you don't even know what's happening. You're pushed in the corner. You don't. Um, Actually, they have you in a lockdown. There is no one who thinks, okay, I'm going to do the opposite thing. I'm divergent. I'm okay. The government tells there's a lockdown. Well, I'm going to do the complete opposite thing. There is no anarchy. There is no counter pole um, to this to this system. Yeah, you can see it like you have this climate hoax, wildfires. We have still wars going on, of course. We have Iran. We have this pandemic thing. We have, well, of course, an economic, how do you say this? A downfall of the stock market and all that, and recession. Sorry, it is a recession, and it's all this pandemic thing is all a good excuse of something what was already in the make, because this recession was already like something inevitable, and now they have this pandemic where economics can say, yeah, due to the countermeasures, the economy is fucked up. Yeah, You know, the economy was already fucked up, and now they have a good excuse to use this pandemic as a catalysator. As I mentioned in other videos, everything is interconnected, and if you ignore this fact, then you will never see what is going on. I do not say I am all-knowing. I do know what is not, and that's a good starting point. If you can recognize what is actually not happening. If you start with your own research and your own findings, you will see for yourself. Something was completely ignored by mainstream narrative, mainstream news and media, is that you have like all these viruses and all these diseases in the past. It's like sometimes I don't know if it's accurate, but every 2 years you have like a kind of pandemic thing going on. Wait, let's see if I can. Yeah, here I have it. Like HIV, of course. It Salmonella, influenza, the smallpox, TBC or tuberculosis, the avian flu, like chicken flu, I think, Ebola, and you get SARS, of course. Well, every disease or every virus is linked with animals. You know, eating animals or feces, animal shit, animal waste, cattle. You know, yeah, eating birds, eating cows, eating bats. You know, I see that's interesting. Ebola started by eating bats. I didn't know this. So something you cannot ignore is this thing eating animals. You just have to stop eating animals. Quite intriguing reference work. If you look at in China, where it started and what kind of businesses were involved with that facility, like military, biotech, bioweapon, 5G. There is one thing for sure in this realm, in this reality, in this universe, is there is no such thing as coincidence. So you have to keep that in mind. The last 10,000 years, Indus Valley, Greek philosophy, there is no such thing as coincidence. There are only actions and consequences. Everything is created. And always there's a plan behind it, an architect, like the Matrix. Very intriguing matter to dive into, actually. Myself, I was quite a bit fan of those this movie Resident Evil from that spin-off of the video game. Actually, it is quite an entertaining movie. I think I watched them all. Maybe the last one, maybe not, but it's with Mila Jovovich, you know. But if you look at the wiki fan page, then you see also like Well, like I said, there's no such thing as coincidence. It's maybe subconsciousness, or maybe they're inspired on something like the books of what is his name, Dan Brown. Some semi reality true story based novel thing. There is no such thing as coincidence. Again, the tech behind it, um, the population control agenda, it's all favored in in those in these worlds, in these branches. And I actually made a. I tried to make. I'm not a meme maker, but I think I did a good job for the first meme I ever created. And there you can see, yeah, that is those who are um, pictured in the meme, who are actually the somewhat puppet masters, and you don't know what's behind the puppet master, and so on. That's follow the white rabbit. I'm not going that deep today, but I just want to make clear that this whole pandemic countermeasures and the people announcing the countermeasures, who are spreading the mainstream narratives, um, it's all fraud. It's all on a false belief, and it makes part of a false belief system. It is like a religion, actually. A few hundred years ago, people feared God, feared the church, and now they actually fear this disease. And they fear if you're not following the countermeasures of your government. The ones who initiate these fear are aware of yeah of the game of Thrones, you can say. What they fear is that people are not complying anymore, that they become truly awake, not those woke people, celebrities you see at the TV. No, truly woke people, you do not actually see that often. You can see them on YouTube, on the internet. They have their own platforms, and of course you have like fragmented pieces of groups, people who are aware of this system and all that. But yeah, it is what I say. It's quite fragmented, and they're not always agreeing with each other. You have to crawl literally through the bullshit to see, yeah, the sincere content. Is everything covered now? Let me think for a moment. You do not need medicine. You certainly, definitely do not need aborted fetuses, or vaccines, they call it, or human blood, even human animal blood. It's disgusting what is in a vaccine. But okay, you know what you do with your child's. It's your so bad, so bad. I don't have children, but oh my goodness, no, I cannot understand that you put that shit in your child, man. Please think twice, please, for the sake of mankind. Oh my goodness. That is it. I thank you for watching. Please subscribe to the channel, like this video, share it. It must be shared. And I will see you soon in maybe a journal, you know, follow my journey, follow my soul trek journals, and yeah, take care of yourself. And you know, like Aiken said, a victory is all mine. A victory can be yours.